What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. We are back here with the boys from Last Word on Spurs, Ricky and Macca. And you know what? We beat Man City last week. We were all in jubilation after that, and we have backed it up with a win, people. And not just a win, we've absolutely smashed Aston Villa at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium by 4-1. We can see the smiles on the boys' face. Ricky, Lee, how are we doing, my friends?
Yeah, good, thanks, boys. Like I say, it's quite nice. As I said often in the show, I want to be proved wrong. I want to feel that when I come on here, that I've got egg on my face, and it's great to see the boys performing really, really well, and credit where it's due. I think you boys know that I've been fairly critical about our lack of consistency since the start of the season, and to have a week like we've just had is really good for the players, really good for the manager, and special credit to Ange Postecoglou. I think I've said a lot with him that we need to see in this second season learnings, game management, tweaks being made at the right time. I think when you look at what he's done over the course of the last week, I think he would have given many Spurs fans real genuine belief that he has shown that adaptation, he's shown that he can tweak when necessary. And look, that's, I think, all what we want. I think as fans that aren't maybe fully on the train, as Crackers said, you might be in platform 2, you might be slightly behind in terms of first class. You want to be proven wrong by a manager and felt, no, you should be fully 100% behind him. And like I said, it's flawless what he's done the last week. He's given every Spurs fan a smile on their face. And I think, again, probably to come on to Lee's point, trust the process.
Absolutely.
Come on.
Macca, a week's a long time in football. How you doing, my friend?
Week, mate. A week. Can you hear me okay? Just getting some interference.
Perfect.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we was all down in doldrums after the Crystal Palace game. And then, like you say, 6 days later, Ben, and quite say that we're on cloud nine. But ultimately, we're in the mix, aren't we? For sure. So it was a very good performance. I watched both our shows actually. I wasn't on last Spurs after the game, and I obviously watched your shows as well, Ben and Sim. And I have a slightly different take on the first half. To be honest, I thought it was weird when I come out of the stadium. I've done a quick video. Just on my quick thoughts. I hadn't watched anything, I didn't see anything. My thoughts were, I actually said it was a bit like a boxing match. It was a little bit, you have a jab and we have a jab and they had a little jab. And actually, when Andy described it, he described the first half as an arm wrestle, which I thought was quite interesting because that's how I saw the game. I didn't think we were bad. I didn't think they were bad. I think it was two teams trying to figure each other out, to be honest. And we really did figure them out, didn't we, in the second half, lads? Because it was an absolutely scintillating performance in the second half. And what we've come used to seeing, I suppose, in Ange ball is real bursts of high energy. I think he called it 2 or 3 higher gears, but higher energy where teams just can't live with us. I take us back all the way to Brentford at home last season, where I think it was a 7 or 8 minute devastation spell of scoring 3 goals, and we've done that a few times, haven't we? Brentford again this year, and West Ham again in the second half. We did it again with Aston Villa. So I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. Well, it's a great thing, to be fair. I mean, we're showing that we're a team that can't be lived with, and that is a huge trait. I don't want to go too mad here, lads. But that is a huge trait where you
get carried away, Lee. It's time.
Liverpool, these types of teams that have the ability to go and blow teams away really quickly. And I think if we can transfer that into our away form, which obviously is going to be a concern, and I'm sure we'll touch upon that, we are going places. I said before the season on Last One on Spurs, I think we finished 3rd. People thought I got ridiculed. They atted me, which people have been doing. I put a post out about Glenn Hoddle a couple of days ago getting our motto wrong. I've been battered by the Levy out crew, absolutely battered by them, because I said that Glenn got our motto wrong. Wow, amazing stuff. So you can come at me if you want with regards to the Glenn Hoddle motto, with regards to finishing 3rd, but if you look at the underlying data that you saw on Monday Night Football yesterday, what Berbatov was talking about, you saw the underlying data on our last show that we did as a 4, what Sim was talking about, and now you're seeing some of the, not only the performances, but the results starting to bear fruit. We're in the mix, lads. And it's weird, but we are right in the mix here, because that amazing Arsenal title-winning, bashing everybody down team, amazing defensive record, and yet we're 2 points behind them. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and
we'll get into Arsenal.
We'll get into Arsenal a bit later, but we've scored the most goals in the Premier League now. We are, in terms of how many goals we've conceded, it is level with the best defence that's ever seen in the Premier League and the best defence in Europe, which is Arsenal. So we've conceded the same amount of goals as them.
And City as well.
But When we're talking about Ange Postecoglou, you know, there's been a narrative about him that, you know, his in-game management is poor. He doesn't make tweaks during the game and tactical tweaks and sub-tweaks to, you know, swing the result and swing the game into our advantage. But, Ricky, we're seeing that a lot, aren't we, over the past couple of weeks, where he's making changes, he's making small tactical tweaks in games to really swing the game in our advantage, isn't he?
He's been faultless, Ben, over the last week. Absolutely faultless. You can't fault what he's been doing. You know, when you look at the back of the previous week where we were all down, of course, after that really disappointing defeat we had to Palace, feels like a long time ago now, boys, to be honest with you. That week coming up to face Man City in the Cup, and we all discussed and we all said how that game and what it would mean to us all. And then on top of that, to go and follow up against an Aston Villa side, that, to put it into context, Villa were, I think, unbeaten away in the last couple of months. You know, they were a side that
all
were
season,
flying.
yeah.
All season. I think only Arsenal, they had the only defeat to Arsenal. So to go and do that against a Villa side where we were depleted in terms of not having our first available 11, we had that situation where, you know, we had, I think, 7 or 8 of the first team that played against City. To put in that performance, I can't find a fault. I really can't find a fault. And I struggle to find anyone that can find a fault if you're genuinely behind this team, this manager and this side. You know, again, I've had my times where I've been concerned, and I think I'm right in doing so. I think, you know, second season is all about learning, adapting, you know, trying to find new solutions to be able to remedy the problems of last season. For me, what I wanted to see, as I said, is massive improvement. And I think when you look at the respective fixtures in relation to this season and then obviously the previous seasons, I think we're already a couple of points up on that. We've scored more goals, we've conceded less goals. So all the patterns of players showing you there is genuine improvement there. There's nothing to show you that we're going backwards in relation to the respective fixtures of last season. So now is a time where I think we do need to trust the process, get behind the manager. And I think, like, I will make this point clear because I don't want to be a hypocrite. I think there will be difficult days in the office. There will be days that we are going to have disappointments. But the key is that we're going to have less of those disappointments and we're going to iron out that work consistency. That is really, really key. And I think as long as we're seeing that with the players across the season, we're going to have a really good season. You know, we're heading into, like I say, mid-November. We're still in all the cup competitions. We've got a really exciting glamour tie to look forward to in the Carabao Cup against United. We've got FA Cup to kick into play. We've obviously got Galatasaray coming up on Thursday, where, again, because of the start we've made to the Europa League group, we're now in a position where we can rotate, we can tweak. And I don't want to, you know, cause a head loss here, but it's not the end of the world if we don't get the most positive result in Turkey because of what we've done so far already in the group. So all signs are pointing towards, you know, progress for Tottenham. I think now is a time where the players deserve that support to get behind the manager, get behind the team, because we've got some really exciting games to come. And I think what this team has showed us is that on their day, they are capable of beating anybody, but it is just finding that consistency and that willingness of the players to be able to motivate them, with no disrespect to maybe some of the smaller fixtures, then we're playing against a City or, dare I say, a Villa or a Liverpool or a Chelsea coming up. So that'll be the key.
You know what I love about the last 2 wins is after the Palace game, you know, there was I think Vicario said after the game, I think Decky was saying it as well, you know, that lack of fight, that lack of willingness to win in a different way, do different things to win games. Because obviously we play football. We know we're a very good footballing side. And on our day, when we get those patterns of play going, we're so great on the eye to watch. But obviously after the Palace game, you know, Ange was saying it a bit, and so was Vicario after the game, that there was that little bit of lack of fight, lack of aggression in that game. And when we're asked different questions and we have to show a different side to us, we came up short against Palace, let's be honest, and we ended up getting bullied a bit and we lost 1-0. And I felt like these wins over the last 2 games have really been wins that showed that fight, showed that aggression. It wasn't just about pretty football. Yes, there was really nice football in there. You know, you look at the goal, the second goal we scored against Villa, beautiful football. The first goal against Man City, beautiful football. There's still that we can do that to any team. But what we really showed is we can muck in deep and we can be that. We can be up for the fight if we need to be as well. And I think maybe it was that Palace game kind of needed to happen to kind of be that learning curve that we've kind of sprung on. Because maybe if we undeservedly get something at that Palace game, maybe we don't learn the lessons that we needed to learn to play in the way that we have done in the last 2 games. Because City, you know, we played a lot deeper, we played a bit more counter-attacking, it was a bit more of an ugly win. And I thought Villa on Sunday, again, they were trying to every step of the way slowing the game down. They were breaking up the game, they were making fouls. There was no shock to me there was 10 minutes added on at the end of the game, because Villa every stretch were stopping the game and making fouls and going down, and the physio was coming, all these different things to try and disrupt us. And yet we kept going, and we were up for the fight and we were putting in challenges. We were doing tactical fouls on them. We were just as aggressive as they were. And I think we've really shown the last 2 games that maybe we've learned the lessons from the Palace game in terms of lack of fight.
I would agree with that. I would say you're seeing this team grow in front of our very eyes. However, I think even before that Crystal Palace game, and we touched on it last time we spoke last week, that I don't fear anyone at home. I feel like anyone coming to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, we can absolutely teach a lesson and we can batter them. And I think we've proved that throughout the season, apart from in the Arsenal game, which, you know, some would say, some can argue we did deserve more out that game. What I want to see from this team, and I think someone said it earlier, is that away form and showing that resilience away from home, because we've only won 1 game away from home now. So I think that is the final sort of question. Not the final question, but that is another question now that Ange Postecoglou has to answer, because if we can't find this consistency and this resiliency away from home, then unfortunately this project isn't going to go anywhere. We need to find that resiliency away from home, and we haven't seen that just yet. We've seen these brilliant performances at home. Let's take that away on the road now.
Totally agree on that. Totally agree. I think I say, was it 9 points at the calendar year away from home? I mean, that's got to be improved upon. I know Lee often refers to, the second season of Pochettino and how we grew throughout that season. And to be fair, you could argue that maybe we're seeing parallels of that in relation to this season, because we are seeing that form pick up. I think the key thing is in that season we really did, and Lee's probably got the stats better than me, we kind of really did shaft a lot of those goals off in comparison to the previous season, but the away form did massively improve. And I think that is the key. I think when I look at a barometer for any good side, for me it is based on their away form and how do they go away from home, how do they navigate difficult challenges, how do they see out games, how do they come back in games. But I think again, that stat from home, I know touched upon the away form, but the home form, that recoverable points that we've done since Ange has taken over, I mean, that's phenomenal. Forget about this term Spursy. I'll let Lee come back in a second. That is anything but the opposite. When you look at the amount of points we've recovered since Ange has come through the door at home, has been phenomenal. And it's top because that man, as he always says, never stops, plays to the whistle, and full credit to him, because whatever we say about, the concerns of the away form, the home form, bar the Arsenal game this season, we've been pretty good.
I mean, can you hear me okay, though?
Yeah.
Because my picture is totally grainy, which is probably good for the viewers because they can't see my face.
Your picture's not grainy on our end.
Oh, sure, that's just, well, at least you got bonus in there. Chat's got bonus. In the 2015-16 season under Poch, we played 19 games, obviously away from home. We only lost 3. We won 9, drawn 7. So we've got 34 points just in our away form. And just for the context,
that's phenomenal.
We finished with 70 points. So it's basically half of our points that we got was actually away. When you actually look at the growth that you talked about as well in terms of under Poch, we played 10 games so far this year under Ange's second season. Poch's second season, 10 games, we had 17 points. You had 1 point extra to what we've got today. We were 6th in the table. And again, just to put some context behind that, West Ham were above us, United were above us, Crystal Palace sniffing around us. So it's very, very similar. I think the only key thing there is we drew a lot of games that season. By this point, we'd only lost 1 game in Poch's second season. I think another great comparison when you're looking at the data is last season. So last season, we actually had a better record than what Arne Slot's got. So Slot's getting all the plaudits, and rightly so. He's seamlessly walked in there. But so did Ange. Ange came into a situation last season where we were playing turgid football. We had 5 managers in about 10 days. We just lost our best ever player on the literally 24 hours before Brentford. And Arne Slot, as a comparison, again, I think it's quite interesting. It's coming in after 7 years of stability, of rebuilding the team under Klopp, leaving it in a very, very good scenario. Just finished 3rd, and he's walked into that scenario. Now he's played 10 and won 8, but Ange had played 10 and won 8 and drawn 2. And Slot's lost 1 at home to Forest. So we actually had a better record this time last year than Arne Slot. I think that's quite a good, interesting comparison. I think we said on the show last time, or certainly on last one on Spurs, is that what's really interesting is that we've now got 10 points worse off this time than we was last season. But I actually think, and again to echo everything that we've been saying, I actually think our performances and the way we're playing is better. is miles better.
Well, the stats back that up. I think they showed on Sky Sports, didn't they, Macca? If you were watching yesterday, they compared some of the stats from our first 10 games last season to the first 10 games this season. Even though the results haven't been as good, I think performances have actually been better.
Statistically, I think we got higher XG and lower XG against, and if you want to add those together, we're statistically the third best team in the league this season.
And that's why I highlighted very being selfish right at the beginning of the show when I said I predicted us to be third, because all the underlying data is showing that's where the case is. Now, everybody told me last year, pipe down, Macca, stop talking about could we and that sort of thing. We're top of the league. I'm getting carried away. I'm absolutely loving it.
Happy
People
days.
telling me to pipe down. But actually, it doesn't matter where we are right now in the league, does it? Because everyone told me we're never going to win it. So it doesn't matter where we are today. What matters is where we finish, which is the racehorse analogy that Andrew's actually saying. But of course, lads, viewers and listeners, that is true, right? So we are now back in the pack, right? We've had a stumbling start. We maybe fell at the or tripped over one of the hurdles or hit a curb around one of the tight turns. But we're now back on the straight and narrow, and we're in the pack. So I know it's classic Spurs, and we shouldn't do this. And I can hear Jason McGovern, one of our own, going, "Don't say it."
One at a time.
I know, one at a time. I know we've got Galatasaray. I totally agree with you, Rick, by the way, in terms of Galatasaray this week. It doesn't matter. Just go and put as many kids on as you can and give them the real experience Galatasaray way, because that's going to be some major cauldron and an amazing experience for them. But, coming to the game on Sunday, it's a big if with Tottenham. I'm sorry to use the word if, team, but if we beat Ipswich, we are going to probably go either above Arsenal and or Chelsea, and both of them. If they draw, we can be sitting third in the Premier League in the international break. That is absolutely crazy. It's like mind blowing. This league is bonkers. 3 weeks ago, we were hands out. Well, some of us were. And now ultimately,
looking down. Who?
Did you see that all the Arsenal fans trying to tamper Lee's connection? Have you picked up on that there? As soon as Lee mentioned Arsenal, his connection started to grain there for a second.
Yeah, exactly.
How funny is football though in the space of a month?
There's 4 points between. I think it's 4 points, 6 points between third and 12th or something. So it's so tight. It is ridiculously tight.
And Sim, I've got to say this. I think this league. I mean, I'm not. Listen, Mac is your point. Mac is your points accumulator, right? I'm not that kind of guy. But the reality is, I do think this league is not going to be won by a sufficient amount of points as what has been done in the previous seasons. Because what worries me is with Man City, I'm really struggling to see their motivation right now. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but they've won the league 4 times. They've won the Champions League. They've won the League Cup. They've won the FA Cup. They've got these charges hanging over them. You got
PEP, Rick.
I know he's amazing. I know.
And also, Rodri being out's a massive blow, isn't it? You can see it.
And also, I don't want to go too much
can we hold
down
on
the
a
road.
second? Why are we talking about Man City? Why are we talking about
Man
Man
City?
Rick,
Because we just beat Villa, Ben.
Rick,
Come on.
Are you starting to believe, Ricky?
I'm just generalising the picture around the top of the league at the moment. With Arsenal,
You're starting to believe. I can tell. You're starting to believe.
He's already checking City's results. He's now checking City's results on the weekend. What's going on?
I just think, boys, it's a really. I honestly think if we can string a decent couple of wins together, and the key thing is, that Ipswich game, we can actually win that and go into a bloody international break on the back of a win, which I can't remember the last time we've had a win on the back of an international break. The confidence I'll give the boys to come back, and I always say, end of November, beginning of December, that is where business is really truly starting. FA Cup kicks into play. We've got the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup in there. You've got Europa League that starts to get a bit more serious as we come to the back end of that group as well. That's the thing with the Europa League as well. If we can get a few more positive results in there, you go into a situation with match day 5 and 6 where you genuinely can start to rotate, as Macca says, and bring the kids those opportunities to play. And then you have got that emphasis on the Premier League. But I think the reality is at the moment is that it's a league where, as Macca said, anybody can beat anybody. And we've got to really home in on that. And I think if we can, as you said there, Ben, at the top of the show, address the away form, we could have a really, really good season. But that away form is absolutely critical. And we mustn't get away from that and shy away from that. I don't think Ange is shying away from that. And I will say that point around set pieces, the narrative around media outlets over the weekend, as soon as Spurs conceded from that corner, oh my God, Spurs have got a set piece problem. I mean, I think, 2 of the last 68 openings have been from set pieces. So the utter, I don't want to swear on this show, that is being banned around about the narrative around set pieces, it's nowhere near as bad as last season. We are learning our lessons. Can I be honest with you? I know Lee's a massive Vicario fan. I think he's a tremendous shot stopper, but I am concerned in relation to the dominance of the 6-yard box, because I think, as Roy Keane said about Schmeichel, you've got to be prepared to go and kill in that 6-yard box. That's got to be where that is your home, that is your dominant area, and that's my worry at the moment.
Mate. I still, sorry to interrupt, but I still think there's major growth there. Like in goalkeeping terms, this boy is a young lad. He's only 27 years old in goalkeeping terms. And I think, when we're talking about the goalkeeper, rightly so, I think there is a couple of concerns about his flapping at certain things. He didn't flap or anything at the weekend, though, so I think that's a bit unfair.
Yeah, what can he do for the goal?
Play.
Yeah,
I just think
he had a big flap against City, though. He did have a big flap against City.
It's more that assertive. It's more the assertiveness, boys. Let's let Macca come back in there. For me, it's more the assertive, the dominance, saying this 6-yard box is mine. You ain't coming to claim anything here, and no one's going to get any form of an advantage. And I think, as Lee says, he is very young, Vicario. There's growth to be had there, but he's got to grow into that. Because as a goalkeeper, great being a shot stopper, but he's got to, I think, command that box a lot more. Definitely.
I agree, but I think he came under a bit unwarranted criticism on the weekend. I know he conceded and he kind of was stuck on his line, but look, at the end of the day, Porro gets a flick on at the near post. It goes in, Bentancur nearly scores an own goal and he makes a save. So I don't know what he could have actually done in that situation, Vicario, to be honest. I think he did well just to keep it out. And if anything, the defenders should have been reacting quicker to that situation. And other than that, I mean, I guess Onana had a chance from a set piece as well. But I guess 2 chances is... you don't want to give away 2 chances.
I don't think we're the best team in the league by any stretch of the imagination from the set pieces, but we're definitely a lot better than we were last season.
Yeah,
so
100%,
I think progression is the key point here. As long as we're showing signs of progression and we're moving forward, I think that's the main thing that we should be looking at.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's fair. I mean, as long as we're not sitting here saying Vicario's rubbish, we need a new number 1, because that's just completely premature. Also, just going back to the point you made earlier, Rick, I thought it was a really good point about when the season starts getting started. When you look at last season after 10 games, obviously we were top of the league, classic, and Arsenal and Man City were only a couple of points behind us. I think, in fact, Arsenal were on the same sort of points. When you fast forward that 20 games in, we dropped from 1st to 5th. We had an absolute shocker with all the injuries, as we know. But Liverpool were 5 points clear of Man City, right? 20 games in. And Arsenal were only 1 point clear of Tottenham, 20 games in. And they ended up beating us by 24 points or something ridiculous. So, I just want to... Look, I am Mr. Optimistic, don't get me wrong, and I love getting carried away, and, that's one of the key things. But I know we're going to come on to Arsenal a bit later on, Sim, but there's a bit of a warning there that we went through not only that 10 games, that first 10 games, then we got the injuries. Then that second lot of 10 games, i.e. 20, didn't do too bad. It was the bit after that we were absolutely shocking. And City being 5 points behind Liverpool at 20 games in, and they still want the league over Liverpool in the end. So the best is yet to come from Man City, to address your point about motivation, and also with Arsenal as well. So I just think we've got to enjoy the game. To come back to your point, Ben, we just smashed Villa, and everyone's telling me Villa, Unai Emery, absolute tactical genius, this, that, and the other. Yet we've absolutely ruined them. Again, I'm going to say again, because we ruined them the last time we played them as well, didn't we?
But last season, I felt like most of our best performances obviously is when we had like a settled 11, right? Especially in those first 10 games. Like, obviously we had some good performances when we had injuries, but by and large, when we had to make too many changes, a lot of changes, right, we did struggle to with those changes, and we struggled to kind of get a rhythm. But I think we're not getting enough credit maybe for how we've if you look at like the depth of the squad over the last couple games, we've had some big issues. And maybe last season, if we had similar problems to the teams that we had in the first 11, we maybe wouldn't have coped as well as we have this season. You look at the City game, for a large part of that game, our back four was Gray, Dragoshin, Davis, and Udogie. If you look at the Villa game on Sunday, Son went off after 50 minutes. Again, we ended the game with Dragoshin and Davis as our back two. We had Richarlison also had to go off injured. We had Maddison didn't even play. Like, he came on with 10 minutes to go. He wasn't wasn't one of our main players on the day. We had like serious disruption in our team, and yet the squad depth is coping at the moment. And it's not just coping, it's thriving, and we're getting these big wins. And, you know, people still look at our team as if it's got no squad depth yet. Have we not proven over the last 2 games that our depth is, if anything, a lot better than last season, which we knew for sure, but maybe it deserves more credit because there's still a lot of players in there who we're still very excited about. Bergvall didn't play. You know, we're still on Mikey Moore there who didn't play. Werner scored on Wednesday. He didn't get involved. I know whatever you want to say about Werner, but he scored on Wednesday against Man City. His tail is up, and he didn't play on yesterday. So, like, does our squad depth deserve a bit more credit?
Yeah, I think we've all been speaking about the squad depth over the past couple of weeks, where you look at the number 6 position, you don't care who comes in, whether it be Basuma or Bentancur. You got Pape Sarr and James Maddison fighting for that spot, 2 very, very good players. Pape Sarr is playing out of this world at the moment. I mean, that guy's performance against Aston Villa was phenomenal, and you look back at his performances last season in the first half of the season. I think that was better than any of his performances last season. I mean, that was a performance of the highest degree. You've got number 9s, you've got Richarlison, you've got Dom Solanke. You know, Richarlison's coming on and making the A. He's gone out injured at the moment. You've got Dragoshin stepping in and absolutely putting in a worldie as well at the weekend and against Man City. So I think the squad depth, when you're looking at it, in every area of the pitch, bar maybe the fullbacks, I think you've got major squad depth. Sorry,
I think
Rick.
in a way that's fine. No problem at all. And I love hearing what you're saying there, Ben. I think it's interesting now. Obviously, we know that Romero looks like he's probably out between a minimum of 9 to 15 days at the moment with regards to this potential injury that he's got. Doesn't appear to be a fracture or a break. But what that will do is give Dragoshin the opportunity to carry on his, you know, running the side. And I think he needs that for his confidence as well. I think the hard thing is that generally, you know, when you have a player that's been stop-start so far, we haven't really seen the best of Dragoshin yet. And I think it's very hard for any player to get any sense of a rhythm if they are not playing regular football. So what this period will do between now and the Ipswich game, where we'll hopefully get the next couple of games, is give him that opportunity to play, you know, 3 games on the bounce where he's not had that opportunity to do so beforehand. And I think, you know, Dragoshin's got a lot of growth in him as well. He's a player that wants to play football, wants to prove his point in this side. And I'm sorry, this might come across really, what's the word I'm looking for? Cheeky, what I'm going to say here, but what a shame for Romero. Misses international duty of Argentina, and he's got to come back and play for Tottenham. Can't make it up. I mean, as a little subtle thing.
He probably played for Argentina, wouldn't he? And by the way, just on the Dragusin, Enter the Dragon. I bet his agent is loving it right now. Dragusin playing 2 games. He's loving it. I agree with you. I agree. Dragusin, I think he's played really, really well. And actually, I put a tweet out about Ben Davies. I thought it was excellent as well. But this is the reason why you rotate. I know it's a risk when you go into the Carabao Cup games and you change it around, or the Europa League. But these guys coming in last season, they were cold. And Ange made this point. I don't want to keep. It's like I make these points, and then Ange is making them. It's like, oh, Lee's copying Ange. Like, no, Ange is copying me. Right? You know what I mean? I've made these. No, but it's true. They're not coming in from the cold. Do you know what I mean, lads? They're coming in already feeling part of the team. I think we spoke about this last week together, when they're feeling part of the team. They're feeling that they're contributing. I mean, everyone that played against Man City will contribute. Ben Davies was a core part of us winning the game against Aston Villa, just with that tackle on Ollie Watkins that basically got us moving for that goal. And also him and Dragusin were excellent against Man City as well. So they're coming in, they're not cold, and they're feeling part of something that's building. And I think that's really, really important. So again, fair dues to Ange, because he's managing. I said on my little clip video, if you caught it on social media, I think he's getting everything right at the moment. And there will be a time when he doesn't. And there's already been times where he hasn't. But at the moment, everything he's doing, the substitutions, the game management, there's little tweaks, taking inverted fullbacks to overloading fullbacks in the changing game. Everything that everyone was telling us before, can't do this, won't do that. He's doing it all. And it's working. And long may that continue, lads.
Yeah, I know. And he says in the press conference, whenever he gets these questions said about him, about tactical tweaks or things, he's like, yeah, that's not a problem. That's not a problem. But he's in the background working on things. So I have no doubt that, you know, all these problems and issues that people have about the way we set up, or tactical things, or away form, or whatever it may be, Ange is going to be working on it in the background, and he will get it right eventually, in my opinion. A couple of super chats to get through. Dark Sun G says, this shows we are a few players short of a perfect squad. Back up, left back, left left centre-back and a goalkeeper to take Davis and Forster's squad after this season, and a backup winger to Johnson. I mean, I would say that's spot on, and I think probably Johnny Cardozo probably comes in the summer. And if Johnny Cardozo does come in, you would imagine that one of Bentancur or Bissouma have got to be the full guys. I mean, which guy do you think it would be?
Well, firstly, there's never ever a perfect squad. I mean, if you go and speak to Pep and go, Pep, do you think you've got a perfect squad? He's going to say no.
Nope.
So I disagree with the word being perfect. There's nothing perfect in this world, and there's nothing perfect in football. It's a little bit like, as Poch used to say all them years ago, put the new furniture in your house. Once you start decorating your house, you start with the front room and go around your house, do all your bedrooms, do your bathrooms, come back round. The front room needs doing again, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, nothing's ever finished. It never is. It's always ongoing. So that's the key thing. But I do think in terms of players, the positions highlighted, definitely we need to strengthen them positions. But once we do that, there'll be another position that we need to strengthen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just like you pump them again. Absolutely. If you're striving for perfection, forget about it. The perfection in life, perfection in business, perfection in sport, it doesn't exist. Does not exist. So you are on the road to a hiding if you think perfection, if you're chasing perfection, in my humble opinion. But what we want to do is we want to improve. And it's, again, I sound like Ange, I'm really sorry, but you want to improve every time. Every time you want to be able to improve. But there's no end point. The end point doesn't exist. It's a continuous journey, and that's what we've got to all realise. Some of us, don't like the word project and don't like the word where we are, and I totally get that. We are fed up. We are fed up with waiting. But perfection and what we're striving towards is getting better and better and being able to compete. And I think we're getting a lot of that right, to be honest, Ben.
Not long to wait now, Lee, because Ange always wins a trophy in his second season, doesn't he? So I'm sure something's coming this year. Dark Sun G again says, come on you Spurs, Dom was what we were missing last season. And that's important. That's interesting super chat there, because my next question is, my next topic is about Dom Solanke and how good is Dom Solanke? I keep kind of explaining him as the glue to our attack. I think he's been phenomenal this season. I think he was brilliant where he made that tactical tweak, didn't he, Ange? In this game, he kept Dom Solanke a lot more further forward, and he was much more of a goal threat than he has been over the past 5 or 6 games. Obviously, he got his 2 goals. And I want to maybe do a bit of a comparison to maybe the best strikers in the league with Dom Solanke. But let's start off just explaining how good we think Dom Solanke is. Maybe start with you, Ricky. How good and pivotal has he been for us?
Yeah, well, can I just say on that point, before I explain how good he is, I mean, the hysteria that I saw online when he hasn't been scoring, I couldn't really wrap my head around or get my head around that notion, because in every game he's played, he has significantly contributed to the team. And I don't think a striker is just about scoring goals. I just don't think it is now in the modern day. It's about what you do to contribute to that game itself. And I think before he put the ball in the back of the net against, of course, the weekend, Aston Villa, I think it was only 1 shot in his last 7 games. And I just saw this hysteria building, thinking, but the guy's doing everything else that he needs to be doing. The amount of pressing that guy gets through. He presses more than any other player in the Premier League in terms of the actual individual press that he gives the team. And John said after the game just how hard Dom works for the rest of the side and how that can go under the radar and completely unnoticed. And look, can I be honest here? Had he not scored against Villa, that wouldn't have worried me or concerned me, because I can see there's a player in there that if he gets sufficient service, he will score goals. And I tell you what, the way he dinked that ball over Martinez, was that a guy looked like he was short of confidence? I mean, It was such a sublime finish from Solanke. And I think it's really important that as fans, we see the bigger picture here. Don't just judge him on goals. I think because we've become so obsessed about having Harry Kane, to be honest, who has scored so many goals in a Tottenham shirt, we judge a player purely on the amount of goals he scores. But Dom is different to that. Dom is, for me, with no disrespect to Harry Kane, who is an unbelievable striker, Dom is in a similar profile where he brings so much of our play into other players as well. The way he links up, the way he interchanges, the way he presses. The amount of opportunities Spurs get from Dom's press is absolutely phenomenal. I'm not saying Dominic Solanke is the best player in the world or the best player in the league, but what I am saying is we shouldn't underestimate the contribution he's giving to the Spurs players when he's out there, because we will get chances off that. I just think he's been a little bit unlucky where he's not had more service given to him, because had he had more service, he'd score more goals. I think so far, 7 goal involvements in 10 games? I mean, I don't think that's pretty bad a return for somebody that I don't think has had anywhere near the service that he needs and should get in these coming games to come. He'll prove fans wrong if he hasn't already. He's a good player, and you can see already playing with better players, he's only going to make him a better player.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you say, was it 7 in 10 games? I think it's
Oh,
5 in 8,
yeah.
5 in 8 in the Premier League alone. So, I mean, he's had more in other competitions as well. And I completely agree. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I was very happy with what he was producing, but there was that question mark saying he's not getting in enough goal scoring positions, which I think he wasn't. But having said that, I was still very happy with what I was seeing, and I think he was contributing to the team. I was never worried that the goals weren't going to come. But I did think there was a little tactical tweak on the weekend to get him further up the pitch and to get him in more of a threat in those goal scoring positions. And he's got the finishing ability. And when you're kind of trying to compare him to other Premier League strikers, where are we ranking him in terms of number 9s in the Premier League?
He's right up there for me. Obviously last season got 19 Premier League goals. This season I think he's surprised me and maybe surpassed in terms of how good I did think he was. I thought he was, a player who's obviously very strong and he would offer a lot in terms of work ethic, but I think his quality on the ball with the ball at his feet has really taken me by surprise. I think his pressing is even better than I thought it was, and I thought it was pretty strong, but he just never stops running. He never gives the defenders a moment's rest. He's such an effective presser, and he showed on the weekend when he does get in those positions, you give him chances, he will score goals. And look, everyone goes through quiet periods. Haaland hasn't scored in like 4 games or something. I'm not saying he's as good as Haaland, but I'm just saying, strikers go through quiet periods where they're not as involved. The team aren't creating as many chances for them. And the thing what you get with Dom, which I would argue maybe even with Haaland you don't get, is when he's not scoring goals and when he's not involved, he's still a handful and he's still absolutely involved and he gives you absolutely everything. And even like in that game against Palace, I thought he was probably our best player. He was the only one showing for the ball and holding up and actually trying to get the ball forward and up for the fight. And for me, when it came to Solanke's goal scoring, as I said, as long as the team was scoring, I wasn't really worried whether it was Solanke or whatever, because I can see what Solanke brings to the team. And I agree with Rick. I think it was more of a team weren't supplying him issue rather than him, missing sitters or whatever it was. It was just in those periods he was being more of a creator. He wasn't the one getting the goal scoring positions, but you saw the output from the likes of Son and Deki and whatnot. They were the ones scoring over the last 2 weeks. So as long as the team's scoring, I don't really care if it's Solanke or not. But I know if you give Solanke chances, he will be getting the ball in the back of the net, and he's proven that last season. Where do I rank him in the forwards? I mean, probably in the top 5, I would say, in terms of strikers. I don't think you can name 5 better number 9s in the Premier League than him, in my opinion.
Well, you'd probably say Haaland, Isak. Who else?
Watkins. And Haaland, Isak. Yeah, maybe just those 3, maybe.
Wood. Chris Wood.
Chris Wood.
He's scoring goals, Chris Wood.
Yeah,
mate,
but I don't know. He's doing well. I don't know if he offers what Solanke offers.
Lee, would you swap Chris Wood for Solanke right now?
No chance, mate. No chance.
Exactly.
Just saying. Actually, I've got some statistics with Harry Kane. I thought it'd be unfair to compare Dominic Solanke to Harry Kane, but then I thought, why not? We're a Spurs show. Let's get involved. So we'll have a look at Harry Kane's last season at Tottenham versus Dominic Solanke's season at Bournemouth, because you can't judge him half a season. So goals-wise, 30 for Harry Kane, 19 for Dominic Solanke. What's quite interesting is minutes per goal. So Harry Kane scoring 114 every 114 minutes, and Dom Solanke every 175 minutes. So they're still scoring virtually every game or every other game. Shots on target. This is the one I actually want to have a look at. Shots versus shots on target. I don't think Dominic Solanke shoots enough. And actually, if you don't shoot, you can't score. And I think that's an area that he needs to improve. It's very clear for me in some of the analysis that I've seen online from you good boys as well, that he definitely was further forward up the pitch against.
I think when you're looking at Kane and Solanke in that sense, like when you've got Kane in and around the edge of the box, he is such a threat. I think Solanke is more of a I'm only going to score really if I'm in the box kind of striker. He's not the kind of striker like Kane where
he ain't going to take a shot from 30 yards.
No, but it's not even that. When he's got tight angles and Kane's just nestling it into the side netting. I'm not saying Solanke is incapable of that, but Kane was ruthless in those situations. Yeah. I think Solanke is more of a. I think Solanke is more of a centre of the goal. If you give him a chance, if you play across the face of goal and he gets on the end of things, he's not as clinical as Kane. I don't think if he takes as many shots as Kane, he will score as many goals, kind of thing.
He relies on service.
Yeah, exactly. Kane can make things for himself.
Needs service.
across a 38-game season, Harry Kane, the great Harry Kane's had 63 shots on target. Dominic Solanke's only had 38. And that's a comparable season. And that's where Kane gets 30 goals and Dominic Solanke gets 19. So that, I suppose the point I'm making is what he's bringing to the team is absolutely outstanding. I love the bloke. I think he's brilliant. I'm so pleased for him. That chip against the best keeper in the world was absolute filth. It was proper filth. And it was brilliant to see. And I think he's only going to get better. And all I'm saying is if he took more shots in a situation, and I actually think Tottenham as a team are a little bit guilty of this since Ange's come in, is that I'm not saying we overplay, but I just don't think we take enough shots. And I think Pat Matassar proved the other day that you can score from outside the box. Maddison, you can direct free kick, score from out of the box, but also as well take more shots. Because
Bentancur took 3 in the first half.
Yeah,
Sarr took 5 all game.
The relentlessness that we have from Tottenham Hotspur of actually getting that ball back, winning that high up with that aggressive press and going on that, to be able to shoot more and get the keeper panicking and not knowing where to go. I mean, let's be fair. Let's quick round robin. How many of you would like to see Son take more shots?
Yeah. Son's different, but Son again in around the penalty box, he's just a joke. Yeah, exactly.
It's not a criticism. I'm just saying I was comparing. Look, we shouldn't be comparing Dominic Solanke to Kane, but the fact is, it's not that bad of a comparison, really, and that's a massive compliment to Dom because Kane's the best.
Where do you rank him, Macca, in the league? Where do you rank him in number 9s?
Yeah, I mean, I think Chris Wood, firstly. I don't know. I think what you said earlier.
Chris Wood for Ballon d'Or next year. That's what I'm hearing.
If you put Dominic Solanke, I mean, he was at Chelsea, wasn't he? And it didn't work out for him. He was at Liverpool, didn't work out for him. If you put this version of Dominic Solanke, you know, would he get in front of Nunes? Is it Nunes?
Nunes or Jota, yeah.
Darwin Nunes, he does. Would he get in front of Haaland? No. Would he get in the Aston Villa team? Maybe not in front of Watkins, but maybe Watkins pushes out wide and Dom stays there, because it's not like all of you have just said. It's not just about his goal, but definitely in the top 4, I would say. And the key thing is you have to have a 20 goal striker or 20 goal player in your team if you are going to get in the top 4 or higher. In my opinion, we're sharing out the goals and it's great and it's amazing, but you do need somebody that's going to. Son gets a lot of grief or whatever. He scored 17 Premier League goals last year and 10 assists. But that's a phenomenal return. Harry Kane 13 his previous season. He only got 5. He only got 3 assists. So even though he's an assist maker, he concentrated on getting more goals. So actually, to share that around, you know, if you can get Dom in around the kind of 16, 18, 20 goals. I mean, he's got 20 goals in him. Anyway.
He has to get that service, though. Just on Macca's point there, he has to get that service.
It might come in bursts, mightn't it, Rick? You know, like Carlson had 8-game bursts when he couldn't stop scoring. Yeah. With Dom, it might come in bursts. You know, he should have scored against Leicester with that header. It was a very similar header to Kane scoring against the Gooners, actually, a couple of seasons ago, in and around that back post with that diving header. You know, and there's a couple of, and that's all I'm saying is on the team is if I'd like to see the shots, how many shots we've actually had table, because I don't, in fact, I'm going to dig that out when I stop waffling, but I actually don't think that we're going to be in the top 3 or 2 of having shots. And considering we've scored the most goals in the Premier League.
It's his work rate. It's his work rate, isn't it, that sets him above from everyone. It's his work rate. That's what's the outlier here for Dom Solanke. But I feel like just quickly to Macca's that point he was saying about shots. We are actually second for shots and shots on target.
Okay,
that's because Bentancur, Porro, and Sarr are always taking shots from like 30 yards. But what I want to say is about to the point before about, you know, Kane can create chances for himself and Solanke doesn't seem to do that. I mean, Solanke has really surprised me, like how good he actually is on the ball and how good he is with his dribbling ability. And I don't see a reason. I know he hasn't done it so far, but I don't see a reason why he can't do it though, because I think he's got the ability in his locker to create chances for himself. But I just feel like for one reason or another, he hasn't been able to do that so far in a Spurs shirt. Do you not feel like he can do that and he's got it in his locker to do it?
I think, look, his physical and dribbling traits can clearly beat players. And I just feel like when it comes to his a proper finishing ability, he's like when Harry Kane again picks up the ball in the edge of the box, he just shifts it and gets into one of the corners. Solanke's not at that level to do that kind of finish. If you give him supply, if you give him the ball, like for example, like on the weekend, Doggy gives him the ball inside the penalty box and he just takes one touch and bang, and Martinez saves it, right? Like he can do that kind of stuff, but when it comes to real elite kind of finishes, he won't do it as often as like a Harry Kane. He won't. He's not able to find corners where his shooting technique isn't like as elite as someone like in Harry Kane's mold. Look, maybe that's something that he can add to his game, and obviously that's the difference between a great striker and elite and world class striker. Yeah. But from what I've analysed, his goals at Bournemouth, none of them are really like nestled into the corner kind of finishes. A lot of them are very central, 6-yard box, one-touch finishes or through on goal, getting it past the keeper. And like he's not like a striker who's always going to find the corners of the goal all the time. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about him, making goals for himself. It's more like he'll score goals that where in positions you expect him to score from.
It's a striker's goals. A striker's goals.
Kane would score goals where no other striker should be scoring those kind of goals, and he's like always putting them in the net. Yeah. I'm not saying he won't get a few of those. I'm saying Solanke will get a few, but Kane would get like 10 a season of those. Solanke will get about 3 or 4. He's more of a get him in the box kind of striker. And if you, for example, if you look at his XG stats, right, his XG last season was 19 and he got 19 goals. Yeah. Like he doesn't outperform his XG. He will score the chances you create for him. He will score the chances he should score. Whereas Kane will outscore his XG by like 10 because he's just got elite finishes.
Yeah, but that's why I go back, boys. The service is so
But that was his breakouts. Sorry, Ricky, what did you say?
The service is so important. The service is so important for Solanke. It really, really is. As long as he gets that service, he will get goals. I've got no doubt about it. I think when you look at the last 4, 5, 6 games, for whatever reason, I mean, Dom is working so hard on the press for the team that I think arguably his pressing work is so phenomenal that I think that then outdoes really his chance creation personally, because it's such an emphasis on the way he presses the side to get us forward on attack that he's not always in around the 6-yard box to score goals. I just think, as I go back to, Dom's output of goals will be based on the service that he gets. If he gets the service, he'll get the goals. If he doesn't get the service, he won't get the goals. But the key thing will be here is that no matter what is going on, Dom will always be contributing to the way the team is going forward. That's why, again, I was not losing my head the fact it was 1 shot in 7 games before the Villa game because of the work he's doing for the team off the ball. Sorry, Ben.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, like, last year was his breakout year, right, really, in a Bournemouth shirt in the Premier League. Do you not feel like, because that's his breakout year, you can see more growth in him, and that finishing ability can improve as well, especially under better coaching as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of growth in Dom Solanke.
100%. And look, he's 27. I mean, he's not young, but he's not old. And obviously, he's back in an elite club. He's been at elite clubs before, but obviously not with this kind of confidence that he has.
And he was very young at
this
Chelsea
club, and
he was
young at Liverpool. He was very young at both those clubs, and obviously. I'm never going to rule out a player improving. Players can always improve. I'm just saying, from what I've seen of him so far, that's what he is at the moment, and that's what we should expect of him. But that's not criticism. You can still get some of the best strikers in the world are like that. Some of the best strikers in the world get those things. But what I was going to say about Solanke, what I almost loved even more than the finish was that moment in like the 95th minute where everyone's out on their feet and Pau Torres is coming out the ball and he's still running and closing him down, and he comes from behind him and nicks the ball off him, and again we create an opportunity from it. And this is a guy on Wednesday night at the end of the game, he dropped to his feet because he couldn't run anymore and he couldn't move anymore. That's how much effort he put in. And yet on Sunday, when in a really taxing game, in a game where he scored 2 goals in the 95th minute when we're already 3-1 up, he's still going hell for leather, running at the centre backs and chasing them down and closing down. Not just doing that, winning the ball off them and actually creating another opportunity in the 95th minute. I love that even more than the goals he scored, because if you have that in our system where you're playing that intensely, that shows me that this is a guy who can keep up with the intensity that Ange needs to make the system work, and that is almost just as important as those 2 goals that he scored.
He's just a player that's completely fitted the system like a glove, hasn't he? We said it when we signed him, we've signed Solanke because of how he fits this system. The pressing, the work rate, I think he's got brilliant technical ability as well, which I didn't think he...
Holds the ball up so well.
I didn't think he had it before we joined him. Before we joined, I knew he could hold the ball up, but his dribbling ability has surprised me so much, and we need to see this over a course of a season, because I do remember, I don't want to bring this conversation down, but I do remember at this point last season, we were calling Bissouma better than Declan Rice. So let's hope that Dom Solanke can keep up these levels.
Can I just correct you there? Some of us were. Some of us were. Let's be very clear on that.
He was playing better than Declan Rice first 10 games.
Put some context around that striker. I mean, absolute legend of the football club, Jermaine Defoe. Absolutely love him. Rick and I interviewed him a couple of Christmases ago for Last One on Spurs. Absolute legend. He's scored on average 12.7 goals a season. Mm-hmm. Right, so put that into context. Like when we're having a go at Richie for only scoring like 10 goals or whatever it might be as a second striker, I'm not on the bench. You know what I mean? Like Jermaine was an absolute legend. Like love the bloke. But he again, to be in a 20-goal striker year after year after year, this is not something that happens all the time. Go and have a look at the statistics with Klinsmann, absolute legend, like Sheringham, Berbatov. Look at Berbatov's stats yesterday on M&F. These are not consistently scoring 20 goals per season. And the reality is that the underlying stats, about the running, about the pressing, you don't see that in the goals scored tally, do you? Mm-hmm. And that's the point that we're making about Dom. He brings so much more. And I totally agree, Ben. Like a glove, like Maddison fitted in like a glove when he signed, like a Destiny Doggy, like Pat Matassar, like Vicario. Again, but you're saying this with hindsight, Rick. You can't be doing that because when we signed them, they fitted like a glove. Yeah. And that's where we are at the moment.
Macca, can I bring you a stat quickly about what you're saying about the presses, his stats, yeah? This is an unbelievable stat, I thought. Incredible stat from Solanke this season. Pressures in the final third, Dominic Solanke has 240. The next nearest in the whole Premier League is 175. That is just maddening. How the difference in that. That's like how much of a pressing monster he is. It's crazy.
I do agree with what Macca says though, about the glove point. Definitely in terms of when they were signed, 1,000,000,000%.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I would never find. You can't go with hindsight. People were telling me that Rose and Walker are better than Destiny and Pedro, and actually, if you look at the end of the Rose and Walker years, you look at the 5 years out or whatever, and you go, they're better. But actually, in their development, are they better? So season 2 in Poch was our fullbacks. Season 2, when we're drawing to Stoke and losing to fucking West Brom, right, were them fullbacks at the same standard as the fullbacks that we've currently got? You can't compare what we've got today with what we had when we finished in the Champions League final, because of course they're better. Mm-hmm. And haven't finished their journey yet. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
And do you think now we have Solanke, we've seen him firsthand now in the first 10 games. A lot of people were complaining in the summer, because I know maybe you can probably still argue we probably need another winger, but a lot in the summer we were saying in terms of our front line, we only sign one player who gets into our 11. We've left ourselves short, but people now looking in hindsight maybe underestimated what the impact that Solanke can have on our front line.
Yes. If you're for just Solanke alone, then yeah. But I still think it was wrong to sign Timo Werner, and I would have expected and wanted a better winger to come in alongside Wilson Odebear. For Timo Werner to come in as the experienced winger that we signed in the summer, I still stand by that it's not good enough. But to say that our forward line hasn't improved from the summer, from last season to this season, I think is deluded, because Dom Solanke has taken it up to a new level for sure.
But I think the key is, as Sim touches upon there, I mean, look, we're looking at players that come in and genuinely improve the first 11. Dom has done that, and there are going to be other areas that if Spurs are going to want to compete in terms of that level that we want us to compete, we are going to need to do that and have to do that if we're going to really get there. But I think what I would say, again, I mentioned this to you guys last week, and again, the back of that City game, again, it points it out perfectly that there is not that drop-off in comparison to this squad to last season. With no disrespect, Dragishin coming in now in place of like Davinson Sanchez and Eric Dyer. Nothing against those guys. I wish them all the best in their career. As a Spurs fan, you are not feeling that general fear going into games that we were feeling, thinking Eric's going to make a mistake, Davinson's going to mistake.
Sanchez, Rick, by the way, is scoring the winner on Thursday, just so you know. Davinson Sanchez bullet header or something like that, just to come and haunt you. Get John Wellham to get the shirt out.
Oh my god! I'll tell you what. But no, I just think there's like a drop off there that is, and that's why fans have got confidence. I think it'll be interesting to see if, like I say, the likes of Graham Bergvall, as Ben's touched upon, they're in and around the squad. They haven't started that many games, so I'll be intrigued to see what he does between now and Thursday, because I think Ipswich is such a hugely important game for Spurs, and I don't want to bring up the whole Dr. Tottenham thing, but Ipswich are yet to win a game this season. We need to make sure we are not on the end of any banana skin there. We've got to get the job done. We've really improved over the course of the last few weeks. It would be the absolute kick in the you-know-what if we go into the international break and we do not beat Ipswich and we set ourselves up to, like I say, the real business part of the season when you're coming into mid-November, early December. We're going to be absolutely buzzing to get back from the international break if we beat Ipswich. But like I said earlier, with the Galatasaray game, expect changes. It's, again, a game that, will be a great opportunity, as Maka says, for a lot of the young players there to experience the cauldron of someone like Galatasaray. Those fans in Turkey, they are so, as you boys will know, going to a lot of the away games. These are what away games are about, You want to come back in one piece, don't get me wrong, but the away, that atmosphere is going to be absolutely fiery. So the key will be, as I've been told in my life, get in, get out, don't look back.
Yeah, we're flying out tomorrow to Istanbul.
Genuinely? Mate, that's going to be an epic stream.
I'm not too sure how to feel about going to Istanbul tomorrow, to be fair. I don't know. Basically, like Ricky says, it's basically get in, get out, make sure you're alive, and that's it.
Don't even care about the result.
All I'll say, boys, if we haven't heard from you by early next week, we know what's happened.
Exactly. But yeah, I completely agree. In terms of Galatasaray, we have to play a weak team. I don't particularly. Obviously, I care because it's Tottenham, and I want us to win every game. But in the context of the season, this game is not. I don't think it's that important for me. With the 3 wins that we've had so far this year in the Europa League, we've put ourselves in a massively good position. We got 2 home games still to come with Roma, who could be coming with Frank Lampard as their manager, if I'm led to believe a few reports, and Elfsborg as well in the Swedish league, who are sitting about mid-table or something in the Swedish league. So you got to expect at least 4 points, minimum 6 points in those games. And if we do that, then that's top 8 signed, sealed and delivered if it's not already.
Even if we lose, I don't think we can drop out the top 8, I don't think.
I think they brought up percentages. Apparently we're 67% likely to finish in the top 8.
I'm saying even just for this week, like if we lose, I don't actually think it's possible for this week. I don't actually think it's possible for us to drop out the top 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only 4 teams I think that can go above us. So, and I think we're already, and there's already.
How does it? Sorry to interrupt. How does it work? So, generally, I don't know this, right? And I should know.
So, how it works is if you finish in the top 8, you go directly into the last 32, last 16.
Yeah, but what? And then you're pulled out of a hat or something for the last 32, or you're a ranked team, or like because if we finish 8th versus 1st, does that give you any disadvantage?
Oh no, I don't think it makes a difference between 1st and 8th.
That's what I mean.
No.
As long as you're 8th or above, then
top 8.
Matter.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. I actually think, I think he's fit. So let's look at the Will Lancashire situation, the Mikey Moore, the Bergvall, the Archie Grays. I'll be playing all in, definitely. Dragusin 100%. Ben,
you have to.
We've got no option. We've got no other centre backs. We're going to have to play Dragusin and Davis. Yeah.
Can't play bloody. We're going to name it again.
Dorrington not available. Dorrington not available, is he?
Yeah, maybe because I just think the experience. Yeah, the experience of having them young lads going that, because it is going to be a cauldron. You boys are going to experience it, you lucky sods. But it's going to be amazing.
I mean, hopefully it's lucky, not unlucky by the time the end of the game comes. They've got to get out, mate. They've got to get out, mate, and get back.
Is the big question, as much as a big question about centre backs, I guess a big question as well is about striker, because Richarlison pulling up is a massive blow.
Will Lancashire
Will Lancashire all day long.
Yeah.
All day. Like I'm a bit concerned about Will Lancashire, you know. I really am, because he's not in the under-21s. He's not playing at all for the under-21s. And also, he's not even in the squads for the senior team. So I'm a bit concerned about his development in this early stages of the season. So for me, he has to play a significant part of this game.
I wouldn't worry, Ben. The way Richie's going, he'll sure help him out with minutes the way that's going at the moment.
Yeah,
I mean,
fair.
God, look, with Richie, look, that's another situation where can't keep the bloke fit. I like his personality, I like his, endeavour, but that's a big concern with Richie. The fact we can't keep him fit through no fault of his own. I'm sure he's not going out there intentionally to keep getting injured, but, we said it so many times, boys, on this show and on Last One on Spurs, sometimes the best availability is being available. And if you can't keep fit, that is a big, big worry. And, we're a team like Tottenham, if Dom gets an injury, you're relying on who we've got in reserve. And Richarlison, bless his heart, for as much as I love him in terms of what he does on social media and the great things he does in terms of his own community, got to keep him fit, have to keep him fit. Otherwise, this isn't going to work, which is a real shame.
I think that's the only bummer at the moment. And again, it's exactly the same time around this time last year, same as this time this year. If you think about the injuries that we've got, I know Werner took a knock, but I think he's fine. But you've got Mickey van der Ven out, and that's not a long one, but he's out.
Yeah.
Romero, I know it's not a long one, but he's out. That's 2. Richie looks like a potentially long. It looked bad. Was in the stadium. I took a video of it. It looked terrible. He looked in pain. So he's out. Odebear.
Yeah.
He's out as well. So these left wingers that we signed bloody Solomon, didn't we, last season? And he was literally out the whole time after the Burnley game. Odebear's literally hardly kicked a ball.
He's replaced Sessegnon.
Hard thing to try and legislate for, because the lad's going to get battered a little bit, isn't he? For it's a waste of time or whatever. But it's not his fault. He ain't really seen the bloke. And so therefore, when we have been playing Werner and he was getting stick, I know all is forgiven now for most of the fan base because he scored against City. But the reality is that he needs to play, because he needs to have a really good game. Do not take Sonny. Don't put Sonny anywhere near it unless it's just going to be like a half an hour. It's got to be Will Lancashire.
Yeah, I agree on that.
But will he do that though?
He has to do that, in my opinion. I think he will do it. I really think he will. And we got to remember as well, as much as an intimidating atmosphere as it is, and it's a great learning curve for these young players, Galatasaray have a bloody good team, by the way, with like the likes of Icardi and Osimhen. They've got some top players, the likes of Big Davinson Sanchez. They've really got some good players there. And if we're going to maybe talk about a team that we want to see, maybe we'll go position by position. I mean, who do you want to see in goal? Do you want to stick with Vic, or are you happy to put Fraser Forster in there?
I think Fraser will get the game. I think Fraser will probably play.
I think I'd stick with Vic, to be honest.
You stick with Vic?
Yeah, stick with Vic. Look, as much as I don't really care if we win or lose, I don't think Ange's going to look at this as...
We're saying what we want to see.
I think stick with Vic, yeah. Why not?
I think what we can have, I'd stick with Vic. I'd stick with Vic, yeah. I'd stick with Vic. We can see Vic, yeah.
Yeah. Right back, I mean, Archie Gray probably takes the right back spot, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'd take Gray.
Actually... Because I think you don't want to play a doggy. He's played so much. I think but he's going to have to probably play one of a doggy or Porro. Because I think Davis is going to have to play centre backs. You can't play him left back. So, and I think I'd rather rest doggy. So I think I'd probably start Porro and play Gray.
So you're saying the back four, Gray left back, Porro right back with Dragoshin and Davis.
We've got Dragoshin and Davis playing twice in a week again, haven't we? This is the thing.
Yeah, but they
3 times. But look, they're centre backs. They should be able to do it. They should be able to do it. Their centre back haven't played too much this season, so I think for doing it for this week, I don't think should be an issue. And
I'm guessing midfield is you're going to see Bissouma, Bergvall, and Madison. I guess.
Yes.
I think Madison will play. Yeah, I agree.
I think Madison will start.
We're resting Kulu.
Yeah, rest Decky, rest Bassar,
and Timo, Turbo
Timo. Yeah.
I think that's a team. And do you think that's a team that can go to Galatasaray under the circumstances against a top team and get a result?
I've just heard you boys have cancelled your tickets after putting that team out.
We're just going for the crack.
I think it's an experience thing. I think it's a growth thing, to be honest. I think that I actually think that look, football's a funny thing. We just witnessed it this week, isn't it? You know, one of our greats actually said once, didn't he? It's a funny old game, and it is. You know, in a week. We don't want to ruin the momentum. Imagine going away to Galatasaray in that climate and getting and winning. No, I don't think negatively, Rick. I'm talking about going there and winning, and then walking into that Ipswich game knowing that we've just smashed Villa, we've beaten City, we've now done Galatasaray. So you don't want to undo all of that work by putting out a team that's going to lose. But equally, imagine the experience in terms of growth for them players playing in that environment. And if they don't lose and they get a draw away from home in any European competition, whoever you're playing, is a bloody good result. So to be able to go there, Mikey Moore, Will Lancashire, and Archie Gray, Bergvall, you know, what's that, 4 teenagers or whatever it is. I think Will's a bit higher than teenagers, sorry, but 4 youngsters, and blooding them in, getting some more game minutes under their belt in that experience. I think that's a growth thing. I think that can do them the world of good later on in the season. So,
and imagine they do get a result.
Do you think they will?
Well, look, Elfsborg went there and scored 3 goals.
Yeah.
Why can't we?
We can do it. We can go get a result there. I just think it's going to be a crazy game, crazy atmosphere. And if these players swim in that kind of atmosphere, you know that they've got the bottle about them.
But at least there's no pressure going in on them and going because of how we started in Europa League. There's not really any pressure.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good kind of time to throw them in when there's not really much pressure on them. And there's not, how many times are we going to have this opportunity where it's a tough away game like it is in Galatasaray? Yeah, there's actually not too much pressure to win. Yeah, if we do win, it's obviously a big result and we're pretty much confirmed top 8. But there's not too much pressure on them to get the result, so they can kind of not feel too much pressure when they're on the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a good opportunity.
I was making earlier about that game management and working things out. How many times in the past have we been in a situation where we have to go and get points or getting a result away? You know, Marseille, for example, away from home when Højbjerg scored that goal. You know, we needed that to kind of get through and all that sort of stuff. But we're now in a situation where we've played ourselves to the point where we don't have to. The pressure's off a little bit, and therefore we might be able to go and play some even better football and get a good result. I mean, the other thing I would say, just to counterbalance my own waffle, is, you know, our away form is woeful, like we've just been talking about. So actually, this is a great opportunity to go and get some confidence about going away from home and scoring some goals and winning. So it's a tough one. And then you look at the Ipswich game and you think, well, they're winless, they're bottom of the league, they're not useless actually. They've played some really good stuff and played aspects, but that, you know, they're maybe a little bit like our performances that don't get the results that they need. And then actually, if we've exerted ourselves too much in a Thursday night game, which didn't really need the result in, and then we lose against Ipswich, I mean, you know, again, a week's a long time in football, isn't it? All of a sudden, you got a bad result in Galatasaray, a bad result against Ipswich. You've got to stew on it for 2 weeks. International break, and the next thing you know, Angie's out.
No, no.
All of a sudden, it's 3 losses in 5 games. People
Jesus,
yeah.
Oh, boys. We're going to close on a high here, not this way. Come on, back up.
The manager's wages.
Yeah, but you know what? Yeah, it'll be so classic Spurs because we lost to a team that hadn't won all season. Then we go and beat Man City, who hadn't lost all season. We go and beat Aston Villa, who hadn't lost away from home all season. And we're playing Ipswich up next in the Premier League, who haven't won all season. So
I know, please. I can see you putting on that white coat behind you. That's not the logo. Take it off.
That home form, Ben, that you talked about at the beginning of the show. I mean,
it'll put us
if that Ipswich game was away, I would maybe start thinking a bit, oh, here we go. But the reality is, it is at home, and it is a massive opportunity for Spurs. And again, Rick, you always say this on Last One of Spurs on our show about the mentality. I think we all touch upon it around the mentality piece. You know, to be able to go in, beat Ipswich on its own. Who cares? It's Ipswich. We should be beating them, but actually to go in there knowing that you could potentially go third and sit in third across that international break, that's massive. And they are the ones that typically Spurs, they falter in, don't they? Typically. So this is yet another test. This is the point about perfection, about the super chat that came in earlier. There isn't no perfection. It is constantly, always on. You consciously have to be on all the time, and this is the point with our team, with our fans, with our amazing football club that we love. You've got to be on it, and if they're on it, we win it.
Well, bring it on, people. Bring it on. But I think that is all we have time for today, people. I did have one more topic about if we can finish above Arsenal, but maybe we'll save that for next week.
Boys, save it for next week. Jesus, what's going on here? Let's keep ourselves calm here.
Let's be above him for one.
We'll keep it for next week when we're actually above him. So,
Jesus Christ.
But Ricky, Lee, thank you guys so much for coming on today. Everyone do go and subscribe to Last Word on Spurs. Ricky, do you want to let us know what's coming up this week?
Yeah, we got a preview of the game against Galatasaray to come. We then got instant post-match reaction on that, and we've got some really good shows coming into the international break. I don't think I'm breaking it by saying it. We've got Lily White Rose, John doing a bit of a youth roundup, and we've got a fabulous interview coming up with David Pleat that we're looking forward to.
Lovely.
So that will be a great show with David, picking his brains on what the last 40, 50 years have been like as around the Spurs campus, and that should be great. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you so much, Ben, as always. Looking forward to more.
I'll definitely be tuning into that, that's for sure. But like I said, everyone do go subscribe to Last Word on Spurs. This is the great Ricky and Lee, and we'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.